you've ever participated in one of my talks, you will know that they're very interactive. So either a pen and paper or your phone, because you're going to have to take notes and pictures, okay? And be prepared to participate. So, where are we going? There we go. All right. Step number one, test number one in your participation. Please stand up. Again, it's like the State of the Union. Stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. There are about 75 people in this room. There are people to your right, people to your left. There are people behind you, people in front of you, with whom at some point in time you will do business with. Introduce yourself. Say hello. How are you? And who knows when you can say, I met you at the Mindset Summit, whatever. That's all I care about, okay? But here's the deal. Here's why I think you should listen to me, all right? The principles that I am sharing with you today are the reason why our company has grown in 3.5 years from less than 50 agents in 2 offices to over 500, now it's up to closer to 540 realtors, and we are now 7 offices. We haven't opened it yet. It's a block away on 6th Avenue in Brickell Ave, and we're going to be doing $500 million in sales this year. Now, when we talk about mindset, how important is mindset to these people that are on the board? Yes or no? Right? Now, do you think they're any different from you or I? Last I checked, you cut them open, they still bleed, right? So they're no different. But I will tell you what they do have is they have practices in place on a daily basis that they work on to get into the right mindset. Because whether you're Trump or Obama or Tony Robbins, trust me, they all have issues. Trump probably more than others right now, okay? But they all have issues. And they have to get up every day and deal with those issues. There's only one way you can do it, because we are human. You've got to have the right practices in place on a daily basis so that you can confront what is out there. I always joke with people. I go, I have 2 fights on my hands every day. I have the fight of having to grow my company, and I have the fight against the people who try to put me out of business every day. It is a tough fight, okay? The only reason I'm able to do that fight and get excited about it is because A, I love what I do, but I have the mindset exercises in place to help me with that fight. So now, we were talking earlier, there were 60,000 realtors in Dade and Broward County. Okay? Add Palm Beach County, there are 75,000 realtors, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach County alone. Do you think your customers have a choice with whom they want to work? How many mortgage brokers would you guess? I don't know the number. Eric, do you know?
Too many.
Too many. Too many. Okay? So the question becomes, if there are 60,000 realtors in Dade and Broward County alone, and you know your customers have a choice, who do you think they're going to want to work with? Because there's only 2 types of people in this world. Energy providers and energy drainers. So if they have a choice with whom they want to work with, who do you think they want to work with? That's right. Okay. So let's look at how important is mindset. This moves a little slow, so I'm going to work with it, okay? Let's just go through this so you guys can see. All right. 90% of your happiness, when you come to mindset, 90% of your happiness, 90% is based on how you see the world around you. 90%. 10% has a little bit has to do with everything else. 90% is how your brain processes the world around you. 75% of your success is based on your optimism, social support, and this is a big one, your ability to see stress as a challenge and not a threat. Okay? Number 3, you have this thing called the happiness advantage. And in the happiness advantage, if you remember science class, so you have positive, neutral, and negative, right? Okay. When you're in a positive state of mind, you are 31% more productive, and you are 37% better at sales. So my question to you is, and we'll move on to the next slide, how many of you would like to be 31% more productive? I don't see everybody's hand up. Let's try that again. How many would you like to be 31% more productive? Fair enough. How many of you want to be 37% better at sales? I want to be 100% better at sales, but I'll take 30%. Hey, John, good to see you, man. Okay? So, there are things that you can do on a daily basis to ensure that you become 31% more productive, 37% better at sales, and that you maintain in a positive state of mind. And here they are. You ready to get your pen and paper out? Write this down. Or type it into your phone. Do not take a photo of this. There's a reason. When you write something down, that's why I prefer a pen and paper, you ingrain it in your head. I have a to-do list. My to-do list is literally printed with lines. The rest I handwrite. And it's a mess. But I know it because I know what I wrote, I know where I wrote it, and I pay attention, and it's ingrained in my head. Write 3 things for which you are grateful for every day. Here's what's going to happen. In the beginning, you're going to be grateful you just got married. You're going to be grateful it didn't rain on your wedding day because you got married on the top of a boat. I'm sure you were nervous about that. You're going to be grateful that you didn't get traffic. You're going to be grateful that you parked for free here at Brickell City Center. Whatever it is. After a week or two, you're going to have to start really paying attention to what's going on around you to look for the things for which you're grateful for. That's when you do that, that's when the change in your mind starts to happen. Like the other day, I'm involved in 3 lawsuits right now. And everyone's like, oh my God, you're getting sued. I'm like, thank God I'm getting sued. Okay? Because that means I'm doing something right. Okay? Not me personally, the company. It means I'm doing enough deals that finally something went wrong. It's okay. I'm excited. Because if I'm too small and I'm not doing enough deals, that means I'm not causing enough commotion in the marketplace. Okay? Journal about 1 positive experience a day. Maybe I got there on time. Maybe somebody opened the door for me. Thank God, I'm not going to lie. When I walked out to take a phone call, the gentleman in front of me walked out. He didn't look behind him to see if anybody was there. The door almost smacked me in the face because I automatically expected him to hold the door. I was grateful that I did not get smacked in the head because it would suck to come up here with a big lump on my head talking about gratefulness exercises. Okay? Exercise 5 times a week. Out of curiosity, how many of you exercise 5 times a week? Less than 5. But you exercise. Okay. All right? Random act of kindness. An example, 1 positive email sent to somebody in your sphere of influence. Random act of kindness could be holding the door for somebody. A random act of kindness could be the other day I was having lunch with Liz and Albert, who are 2 of my great leaders. Carolina's my 3rd leader. She was out of the country. And it was the day of Valentine's Day, and there was a she was what, probably 80-year-old woman having lunch by herself. So we bought her lunch and wished her a happy Valentine's Day. Random act of kindness. Now, some of you may be looking at this and saying, 3 things, I got to write down 3 things for which I'm grateful for. I got to journal, and by journaling, it's 1 or 2 sentences. You're not writing a diary, okay? I got to exercise 5 times a week. I got to go random act of kindness. I do not have time. Bull. I'm trying not to curse because it's being taped, and I tend to curse. I'm trying not to curse. It's a big one for me, okay? But you do have time. Let me share with you why. How many of you have no kids? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Okay. I have 4 boys. I have a 20-year-old, I have an 11-year-old, and I have 8-year-old twins. I run a company with 6 locations, soon to be 7, because I have a kiosk in Aventura Mall too. Over 500 realtors. All my boys play competitive soccer. They're all on a travel team. To give you an idea, this past weekend, we had 9 soccer games over President's Day. Don't tell me you don't have time. I made the time. I retrofitted my garage with an entire CrossFit gym to make the time. That's how important it is to me. Okay? You do have the time. If you're making the excuse that you don't have the time, that is not important enough. And if it's not important enough, then what you're telling yourself is that your mindset is not important enough to you. And that's something that you got to come to Jesus with yourself. Okay? Now, let me share with you something about what happens when you do this. Okay? So, in our company, we have this thing called the No Excuses Coaching Program. Long story short, I'll spare you the details of how it came up, because I'm actually going to share with you a little bit about that in a second, of how that idea even came up. But it's an 8-week coaching program. We've had 182 agents in our company out of the 500 plus already take the No Excuses Coaching Program, and we have 30 more that are in it right now. They just started 2 weeks ago. The foundation, as they will tell you, is based on these principles. Okay? And what those agents have done, let me go back. What those agents have done, those 182 agents, in 8 weeks' time, wrote over 900 contracts. And I will tell you right now, the very first thing we discussed in our No Excuses Coaching Program is mindset. That's how important it is. Fair enough? Are we sleeping? Okay. I'm trying to go fast. It's a lot of information. I know I'm forgetting some things, but let's go for it. Okay. Now, what if I told you I can change the mindset of your client? Would you guys like that too? Yes. Because it's important. You can change your mindset, right? You can know everything you need to know about selling real estate. You can change your mindset and get excited about getting out of bed in the morning. But then you still have to, if you want to do a deal, you still need to deal with somebody else, right? Okay? So how do we change the mindset of your clients? So there are these things, these principles called endowment effect and loss aversion. I get ragged on all the time for continuing to talk about these things. But they are important, and that's why I do. It's funny, everybody talks about technology and technology and technology. The more people talk about technology, the more I go the other direction. And I'll share with you why in a minute. Okay? Endowment effect is the principle that once you own something, you place a higher value on it than something that you don't. Classic example for all realtors in this room. For sale by owners. Actually, any seller. How many sellers right now in this market think that their home is worth more than what it is? Right? I do these things on Wednesday called Coffee with Alex, where I rotate to all of our offices to talk to the agents. And here's the recurring theme I'm hearing. Too much inventory, too little inventory. Out of the same breath. Well, how can you have both? Too much inventory. Because sellers right now think that their home is worth way more, and inventory is rising up because these sellers don't want to decrease their price. Well, if you have that, how do you have low inventory? The low inventory is there's not enough good listings. Listings that are priced correctly, because when they are priced correctly, they're selling fast. But that's endowment effect. Loss aversion is the principle that the power of gaining something, the power of losing something is 2 times stronger than the power of gaining something. And I'll explain both in a second. So how do you do endowment effect? So my brother-in-law owns Harley Davidson in Miami. And he asked me to speak to his sales team about how to create endowment effect with his salespeople. And I told him in the beginning, I go, Dirk, man, I love Harleys. My wife will not allow me to own a Harley right now because of our kids. I get it. In my mind, I already own the Harley. I'm buying it as soon as they turn 18. But one of the examples we came up with, when you're showing a customer around the dealership, sit them down on a Harley, let them feel it, take a picture. You're going to get their cell phone number, or ask them for their cell phone number so that you can text them the picture, because now you're capturing the person's cell phone number for follow-up, and then send them the photo. Why? Because now they're picturing, I look at this picture all the time. Why do you think it's on my presentation? I own that Harley already. Okay? And I'm not going to lose it. Loss aversion, and by the way, how do you do that with a customer? Let's say that you guys just got married, now you're going to have a baby, and you're shopping for homes, and you walk into a room, and you see a baby room. Oh my God. And your eyes light up. If I was a realtor, I would take a picture of you in the room, and I would text it to you later. When I bought my house at the end of 2016, again, I have my 3 little boys who play soccer. They're boys, they're crazy. Okay? I bought a house in Davie on a 49,000 square foot lot. I was a victim of endowment effect. Because I walked into the yard, I saw this monster yard. If you're friends with me on social media, you'll see a little video that I did the other day of my son's birthday party. We had a 30-foot water slide. We had 80 kids. It looked like a freaking resort back there, just because I have so much grass. The inspections were terrible. I was walking away from the deal, over $10,000. It's a long story. And my wife looked at me, she goes, this is the house of our dreams. You're going to lose it over $10,000? Imagine our kids playing in the yard. Oh my God, I'm a victim of endowment effect of my own wife. Okay? Loss aversion is the principle of, again, where the power of losing something is 2 times stronger than the power of a gain. So the example, and the reason I have my picture of my little guys up there, is my wife's a pediatrician. She works every other Saturday. Okay? That means I'm home alone with the boys. And again, they're 3 rowdy boys. So one weekend I tested out this theory, and I went to them. I said, guys, if you behave today, at the end of the day, I'm going to give each of you $5. And what do you think happened? Huh? You know, they didn't listen. Okay? Because that was the promise of a game. So I waited 2 weeks later, and I said, guys, here's $10, here's $10, here's $10. Okay? If you misbehave, I'm going to take away your $10. What do you think happened? They behave. Okay? So, if you can create endowment effect in your customers, you're excited about getting out of the business, but you still got to deal with this other person. If you can create endowment effect with your customers, then what they're doing is they're taking ownership of it. It will make your deal easier, and then all of a sudden the principles of loss aversion kick in, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make that deal happen. Because in their mind, they already own it. By the way, that's why I'm not a fan of electronic signatures. How many of you use electronic signatures for contracts? Okay. I'm going to tell you advice that I hope you take. Go the complete opposite way. You have an opportunity to sit with your client, connect with them again, okay? Have them put a pen to the paper, so now they're taking ownership of it because they're signing it. But most realtors are lazy and they're bypassing the opportunity to connect with the customer, have them take ownership, okay? Because they're lazy and they don't want to go meet the customer. Trust me, go in person. You know, the mantra used to be, please do not touch. Retailers now, if you notice when you buy a kid's toy, my son bought a remote control car at Target this weekend with his money, it was like that big. You know what you have in the box? Open boxes that let you touch the buttons on the car. As soon as my son heard the sirens and all the noises that it makes, boom, he grabbed it, did not let go of it. Endowment effect and loss aversion. Meet with them, have them sign the contract. My 2 cents. Take from it what you want, that's my 2 cents. So, yeah. So, now that you have this great information, what do? So, I have a mentor. His name's Emmett Logan. Emmett used to run UPS Worldwide. I'll spare you the whole background. Homeless, alcoholic, without a college degree, went to go run UPS Worldwide and started loading boxes. And what he taught me was, he goes, Alex, what's your goal? You need to have a goal, and then there are 4 or 5 things you need to do on a daily basis to make your goal happen. Okay? Usually number 1, you spend 80% of your time on number 1. 2, 3, and 4, and 5 happen automatically. So when I started Related ISG, it was in July of 2014. The company had already been around for about 4 or 5 years. And you got to understand, we're co-owned by the Related Group, or we're co-owned by ISG. Related is pretty much, the developer who built everything in Brickell, 90% of it, and ISG has sold a lot of the developments here in Brickell. And Matt Allen, who's the CEO of the Related Group, tells me, Alex, you got to the end of the year, kid. Let's see what you got. 6 months, not even. So my goal was I had to create a company that represented both Related and ISG in size. So my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were recruit, and it kept going. Okay? Well, guess what? Now we're here. After a year and a half, we went from less than 50 agents to 300 agents, thankfully, because of my awesome leadership team with Albert, Liz, Carolina, and Rowena, who's a huge part of our marketing, and she is our marketing department with help. But I know that's one of the main reasons why our agents are with us, because of amazing marketing support. I had this killer team. But now we're at 300. I'm big, somewhat. I still don't think we're big, even at 500 plus. But now my goal changed. And it become a company that can make a financial impact to both Related and ISG. Well, how do you do that? Well, I had my 300 agents. How can I help them become more productive? That's what led to the birth of our No Excuses coaching program, which we shared about earlier. Then it became recruit. Then it became control expenses, and then ancillary revenue. So those are 2 examples. You got your pen and paper. You have your phone. Take 30 seconds, and I want you to write out. Let's see what slide is. What is your 5-year plan? And what are the 4 or 5 things you need to do to make it happen? Take 30 seconds. I'm going to grab some water real quick. If there is one. On water? No, sit down. Risky, but here. No. That's it. Oh, it's in one? Yeah. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Okay. You have your 5-year goal? Do you have the 4 or 5 things you need to do to make it happen, or do you need a couple more seconds? I see people with their heads down. I love it. I told you it was going to be interactive. How am I doing on time? Anybody? David?
We got 10 minutes.
10 minutes? Perfect. Oh. I went from no liquid to having 2 waters and a coffee now. Okay. So now I'm going to challenge you. I want you to think bigger. Why is your 5-year goal, and I'm going to share with you in a second what was my 5-year goal. Why is your 5-year goal not your 1-year goal? Why can't you make it your 1-year goal? My 5-year goal was, this is the beginning of the year. At the time I had my 5 locations plus my kiosk in Aventura Mall. Since then, we had the opportunity to open Brickell Avenue, which again is a block away. So now I'm at 6 offices as of March 1st, and my kiosk in Aventura Mall. My 5-year goal when I started the year was, I wanted to go from 5 offices to 12, no, come on in, and from 500 agents to 1,300 agents. That was my 5-year goal. And the other day, I was literally, for those of you that have ever been in my office in Aventura, if you don't come in through the main area, if you come in through the back door, you have to punch a code to walk in. So I punched the code to walk in, and as I'm pushing the door, it literally, I felt like I got hit over the head with a bat. And I stopped in my tracks and said, oh my God, I am not thinking big enough. Why is that my 5-year goal and not my goal today? I have the right team in place. I got to lean on my team even more. And I made my 5-year goal my 1-year goal. And what I do, every day, I do something that gets me closer to 13 offices, or 13 locations, and to my 1,300 agents. Every day. And there's nothing, in my opinion, that's holding me back. So I'm going to ask you another question. You got your pen and paper handy, right? I want you to write down, what is your craziest goal? The one that if I stood you up here right now, as some of you are thinking probably about me, this guy's freaking nuts. How's he going to go from 6 offices and 500 agents to 13 offices and 1,300 agents in 10 months, because that's what we have left in the year. Okay? And the reason is, for a long time, I was letting people convince me that I wasn't capable enough. That's nuts. Nobody's ever done that. If you do that, you got to have billions of dollars to buy companies out. Blah, blah. It's all bull. It's bull. I know I can do it. I stopped listening to everybody else. What is your craziest goal? Write down the goal that if you stood up here today, and if I called Tori up here and said, Tori, share with the group, and I'm not going to, so don't worry. Okay? He's bigger than me. He can beat me up. Okay? What is your craziest goal that if you came up here today, people would look at you and say, you're nuts? I'm going to look at David Kurz, for example. David said he was going to sell $1 billion worth of real estate his first year in Kurz Real Estate. People probably said, dude, you're nuts. It's never going to happen. More. They just didn't tell you. Okay? But you know why they told you that? Because they couldn't do it themselves. So if they couldn't do it, there's no way you're going to be able to do it. Okay? But what we have found, okay, is you have this crazy goal. What we have found is there is something holding you back. And it's not exterior, it's something within you. There is a fear within you that is holding you back. You still got your pen and papers, right? I told you it was going to be interactive. So here we go. Let's skip this. So let's attack our fears. So you have this crazy goal. Right now, in your head, on your phone, on a piece of paper. You have this crazy goal. What is the fear that is holding you back right now from doing it? I'm not going to ask you. Just be honest with yourself. What is the fear that is holding you back? Define it. Got it? Now, I want you to figure out ways in which you can prevent your fear from happening. Sometimes I'll deal with an agent one-on-one and they tell me, I would love to call my sphere of influence, but I'm scared. Why are you scared? I'm scared of seeming uneducated or stupid in front of my own sphere of influence. Okay. Well, how do you prevent that from happening? You educate yourself about the market on a broad spectrum. I don't know everything about every single market we're in. I know I have a good idea of what's happening in the market overall, but I don't know what happens right now. I couldn't tell you what's happening in Icon. Is that going to stop me from calling a customer about Icon? No. What I'm going to do is I may find out about what's happening generally so I can speak in a broad manner. And if I don't know the answer, I'll let them know. You know what's a great question I don't know? Let me look it up for you. That's how you can prevent the fear from happening. Okay? That's just an example. So you have your fear. You need to write down ways in which you can prevent your fear from taking place. Then you need to look at it and say, let's say that I do look stupid in front of a client. Or whatever your fear happens. Your fear, it comes to fruition. Oh my God, I messed up. Okay? How do you repair the damage? Write it down. Oh, I see a lot of note taking over here. I love it. You defined your fear. You wrote down ways that you can prevent it from happening. And now you are writing down things that if your fear took place, how do you repair the damage? And if you don't know, do some research, do some self-analyzing. Meet with your broker, sit down and say, I got this fear. How do I stop it from happening? Whatever it is. Okay? You got that? Anybody still working? I see some heads down. All right, for sake of time, I gotta keep going. Now, the question I want you to write down, or the question I'm going to ask you and I want you to write down the answer is, let's say that you are able to conquer your fear. Okay? My fear, by the way, of getting my company to 13 offices and 1,300 agents in this year was failing. Was losing control. Not that I'm a control freak, I'm not. I don't even know when my managers take vacation or anything. Ron and I had a whole discussion about it the other day. I don't even know how many vacation days they have. I don't care. As long as they're doing their job, go do your thing. I'm not a control freak. But I am over certain things. I was scared of losing control. I was scared of failing. But I wrote it down. How do I prevent it from happening? How do I repair the damage? And then I said to myself, a year from now, I look back at in the beginning of 2019 and say, oh my God, I got my office to 1,300, my company to 1,300 agents and 13 offices. What does my life look like today? And I wrote down everything about how my life would look different. So I'm challenging you to do the same. Write down the things about how your life would look different. Financial freedom, freedom in general, take days off, you're on your own, you can put your kids in private school, you can buy a bigger house, you can fix the house you're in, you can buy your first house. What does your life look like if you're able to conquer your fear? Remember the question that we talked about in the beginning about if you don't want your life to be the same in 5 years? I'm giving you the formula right now. Okay? Here's the next question. How does your life look like if you don't conquer your fear? Okay? No, it's not the same. I heard the same a bunch of times. It's not the same. Guys, let me tell you something. This small thinking, and I had this discussion with my leadership team, with Rowena, Albert, Liz, and Carolina, and actually some of my agents. My small thinking, everyone's like, Alex, you weren't thinking small. You went from 50 to 500 and something agents in 3.5 years, without acquisitions, by the way. It's not like I went out and bought companies to make it happen. It was organic. Because we have a philosophy in our company that our agents are our raving fans. And if they're a raving fan, they'll refer you people. Okay? Very easy formula. Okay? But I was thinking small. And you know what? I failed my team, and I failed my agents. Because what I didn't do, I did not look at my existing offices and find out how I can go deeper within my offices. We're creating an entire rental division out of our Brickell office. Because just to give you an idea, as a brokerage out of our Edgewater office, we did 900 rentals last year out of one office in this corridor. At Midtown, Edgewater, downtown, and Brickell. There's about 4,000 rentals coming online this year. Where I failed was to look at the numbers deep enough to understand where there are opportunities in each market. How can I go deeper with my existing offices? I failed. Where I also failed was in not going wide enough. Because right now, where are my offices? Weston, Fort Lauderdale, Aventura, Edgewater, now Brickell, and Coral Gables. With the exception of Weston, I'm east. I failed in going deep, and I failed in going in wide, and spreading my net. Well, guess where my 13 offices are going to be this year? Kendall, Parkland, all throughout Palm Beach County. I'm going to drive up to Orlando and Tampa and go door knocking for brokers. Okay? Because I was thinking small. I let my fear hold me back. And I know a lot of you are thinking, again, 500 agents in 3.5 years, that's insane. No. If I got the 500, I could have been at 1,000. It's my fault. Luckily, I discovered these exercises. So the question is, when you leave today, it's your decision what you do. You can leave here today and put your book away, not do the gratitude exercises, not look at every time, continue to think small, continue to let a fear conquer you and not sit down, because now you have the steps on how to conquer fears, whether personal or professional. You have it. It's your decision as to what you do with this information. Because I always have a saying, you can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped, And I'm looking at Carolina because she goes, her famous line is, you can't push with a rope. Okay? Now I'm going to leave you with one last thing. The power of relationships. There was a Harvard study. Okay, this is a TED Talk, by the way. Most of what I got is from TED Talk. It's not me. I just learned it from others, and I just condensed it into one thing. There was a TED Talk that is the longest standing, it was about the longest standing study in the history of studies. It's like 80-something years, where they followed about 800 men, close to 800 men, when they were teenagers, to now where all but 17 of them are alive. So it's been going on 80-something years. Okay? And they asked these guys in the beginning, what do you think you need to live a long, happy life? Okay? Long, healthy, happy life. It's the third. And most of them across the board said, I want to be rich. And a lot of them said, I also want to be famous. That was what they said when they were 17. And this was like back in the Great Depression. Okay? Ask millennials nowadays what they think they need to be happy, rich and famous. Okay? Hasn't changed. And they studied these guys every year for 80 plus years. They studied their brains. They sat down and did psychological evaluations. They interviewed their wife. They interviewed their kids. Everything. By now they're 80 and most of them are dead. They did a blind study and went back and looked at the profile of these men when they were in their 50s. And they could determine, for the most part, who were the ones that were going to be happy, healthy, and live long lives, assuming that no disease came up or anything like that. And they based it, and they were able to figure out what was the criteria. And guess what? It had nothing to do with money. It had nothing to do with fame. It had to do with the depth of their relationship with their significant other, their kids, their friends, their family. Okay? So as you look at your 5-year goals and your goal being whatever it is and everything that we discussed about, don't forget, and now technology, like I see a bunch of cameras up and we're recording and all this stuff, and that's great. But don't forget that in life, people still need to be talked to. They want to be heard. Okay? They want to be understood. And that principle, no matter where technology will take you, or whatever technology does, will never change. Okay? Make that commitment to yourself. I'm done. Thank you guys.